repeatedly hit on the head with a hammer before his son chased the assailants off with a sword. Police say they've arrested 3 youths aged 15, 16 and 17. They face various assaults and robbery charges. The 15-year-old also faces robbery and assault charges from incidents earlier this month. All 3 will appear in the Monaco Youth Court. Northern businesses are considering banding together to seek compensation for losses suffered when a pylon fell over last Thursday, cutting power to about 100,000 homes and businesses. Workers for the company that maintains Transpower's transmission towers were moved out from the base of the pylon, causing it to topple. North Chamber Chief Executive Darren Fisher says only households can get compensation under the Consumer Guarantees Act, so businesses have to rely on insurance.
If you were to make a claim, of course, you'd have your excess to pay, and then your premium is likely to go up, and then you'll lose your no claims bonus. So that's pretty unfair on our members, we think, particularly when there's been admission on the contractor's behalf at Transpower.
Darren Fisher says North Chamber is taking legal advice and considering a collective claim for compensation. He's also advising business owners to get advice and study the fine print of their insurance policies. The final report and recommendations of the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Abuse in Care have been delivered to the Governor-General. The inquiry was established in 2018. It's estimated between 110,000 and 255,000 people were abused in state or faith-based care from 1950 to 2019. Governor-General James Silikero will deliver the report to the Minister of Internal Affairs, Brooke Van Velden. The government will then make the final report and recommendations public by presenting it to Parliament. Parliament sits tomorrow and Thursday before going into recess for 3 weeks. It's expected the report will be tabled on the week of July the 22nd. In sport, the Māori All Blacks say they will carry the memory of former teammate Conor Garden-Bachop throughout the season. Garden-Bachop died aged 25 after a medical event on June the 17th. Coach Ross Filippo says players named in today's squad to tour Japan are being supported.
There's a number of players in the team that are really, really close to them, and we wanted to make sure that they get the ability to go and say farewell in the silence. So we'll make sure that we will try and do our best in our own way, unique way to honour his memory. We also support the players that are obviously having to deal with that grief.
Conor Garden-Bachop was farewelled in Christchurch today. New Zealand Rugby has posted a loss of almost $9 million for the financial year. Chief Executive Mark Robinson says further work is needed to achieve a sustainable financial model, but he is positive about the organisation's future. England manager Gareth Southgate is expecting a big improvement from his team when they play Slovenia in their final Group C match of Euro 2024 tomorrow morning. Despite sitting top of the group, the squad have come under criticism from the public and former players.
We've had a short period here where we're not quite functioning at the level that we want to, and that's been a brilliant challenge to unpick that, to find the best way forward.
And the Florida Panthers have won the National Hockey League Stanley Cup for the first time in their 30-year history. The Panthers beat Edmonton Oilers 2-1 in Game 7 of the final series to clinch the trophy. And that's the news. A cancer patient reacts to the $600 million Pharmac funding boost.
It's great news. As long as you don't die between now and October, we don't start logging them out.
A doctor warns more staff will be needed.
We've never had this many drugs funded at once before. We have to make sure we've got the staff in place to deliver them. Otherwise, we're going to have a huge waiting list issue.
And the Prime Minister defends his handling of the issue.
We've worked really hard to make sure we find a way in a process.
After a major backlash, there are a lot of hands with cancer patients.
Yeah, and I just say, Corinne, isn't it great because no other government has made a $12.7 billion investment in healthcare.
Asking a hard question this morning report we go from 6 on RNZ National.
Now, the short forecast from Met Service until midnight tomorrow. Warnings are in force for heavy rain and severe gales in Tairāwhiti, Gisborne and Hawke's Bay. Northland to Taranaki, also Coromandel, scattered showers, some heavy and possibly thundery in Northland this afternoon and evening. Showers becoming confined to Northland tomorrow. Gisborne and Hawke's Bay, heavy rain easing in Gisborne tomorrow. Southerly gales about the Wairoa districts northwards, gusting 120 kilometres per hour. Bay of Plenty, Central High Country, Whanganui to Wellington and Wairarapa. Occasional rain, possibly heavy in Wairarapa. Rain clearing from Bay of Plenty tomorrow and easing to showers in the west. Nelson and Marlborough, occasional rain becoming confined to the Kaikoura coast tomorrow morning. For Bulla and Western, scattered showers today, mainly fine tomorrow. Canterbury and Otago, partly cloudy in central Otago, occasional rain or drizzle elsewhere. For Southland and the Auckland, partly cloudy. And for the Chatham Islands, cloudy periods. RNZ National, it is 5:08, and you're with Checkpoint. And Lisa Owen.
Kia ora e hoa no mai hoki mai. This is Checkpoint, Lisa Owen, TNA. A desperate search continues tonight for 3 people missing for more than 24 hours after their boat failed to return from a fishing trip in the waters of Gisborne. A little earlier today, 2 people were spotted in the water clinging to a life ring off Markia Peninsula. Rescuers have since lost sight of the pair. Maritime New Zealand has described the weather conditions in the area as atrocious. With the latest, we're joined by RNZ reporter Bill Hickman. Bill, what is the latest?
Well, the latest that we've heard from Maritime New Zealand update just moments ago is that the men are still in the water. As we've heard, 2 people have been sighted clinging to a life ring, but the ship that spotted them was unable to get to them, unable to rescue them at that time. There have been dropped provisions in terms of flotation devices, but the locals on the ground I've been chatting to, Roger Faber from the local sport fishing club, and he says while the local community is hugely encouraged by news that the men have been spotted, given the conditions out there, it will be miraculous if they can be rescued.
Who exactly is involved in the search?
The New Zealand Defence Force is contributing beside us. There are opportunities vessels, as the Maritime New Zealand has said, the Coast Guard, and of course rescue helicopter operations, all contributing to try and locate these people.
And what more can you tell us about conditions?
Well, we keep hearing these words, atrocious, dangerously difficult, shocking conditions. 6-metre swells, up to 50-knot winds at times. That's in excess of 90 kilometres per hour. So it's really hard going out in the sea. There is a deep low, according to the Met Service, sitting just northeast of the country, and that's going to be feeding that heavy rain, those high winds into the eastern coast. Winds are expected to continue into early tomorrow morning, the rain until tomorrow afternoon and evening. So it is really difficult conditions, and it will stay that way for a while.
Kia ora e hoa, thank you for the update. That is our reporter Bill Hickman there, and we'll bring you updates as they come to hand. 5:10, and you're with Checkpoint on RNZ National. Northland businesses could be eyeing a potential class action for compensation after last week's massive power outage caused when Transpower maintenance crews unbolted the seat of a pylon, causing it to topple over. Losses are estimated to be $80 million plus after some businesses had to close their doors and others lost perishable stock. The Consumer Guarantees Act entitles people to compensation, but it doesn't apply to businesses. Local business associations say they should be compensated. And joining us now is Auckland barrister Chris Qodosen. What is the pathway to compensation for businesses, Chris, and how tough is it?
Well, the first thing that businesses need to do is they need to put forward a claim. If they sit in silence, the old saying of if you don't ask, you won't get. So they'll certainly need to raise a claim.
And what does that involve when you take a so-called class action or a claim?
Okay, well, I mean, I guess there's 2 ways that there can be approached. It can be done on an individual basis, which is kind of quite orthodox, is that you would raise a claim on an individual basis and say, I've suffered a wrong and at a loss and I need to be compensated. But for many small businesses, such claims are sometimes completely uneconomic, and that's where the advantage of a class action can come in, where individual claims are aggregated and brought as one, and that provides an economy of scale, and it also assists with altering sort of the balance of power, because for a small business, often up against a defendant that's larger, there can be a lot of difficulty in trying to persuade them that doing the right thing should be done.
Do you reckon these guys have got a good case?
Well, other media reports, it seems fairly clear that someone hasn't followed proper process. and it's caused damage to the network, which has caused an outage of power. It seems like a reasonably straightforward claim to say that these businesses relied on the continuation of power, and that continuation was brought to an end through possibly the negligent actions of a contractor.
Seems to be a little shifting from one leg to the other from those involved. So do you go after Transpower? Is it the contractor? Who does the buck stop with?
Yeah, so that's going to come down to two issues. There might be one in contracts. There might be a relationship between a business owner and the supplier of the energy. And then there's a sort of a broader concept of one of a duty of care. And that duty of care doesn't require the existence of a contract. It just requires the relationship of the parties to be sort of proximate enough that the courts would recognise that there's a duty there to take reasonable care.
Is there any precedent for a particular case like this? I mean, way back in late 90s, it was when Auckland was kind of without power on and off for a month or so, and the business is there. Are there any other cases that are similar to this that have succeeded?
Well, New Zealand doesn't have a great history in class action litigation. So I think you see the Auckland CBD power outage in 98, where sort of half the CBD got power for the morning and then the other half got it for the afternoon. That didn't result in a class action. I can't say how the small business or the businesses dealt with through that. There hasn't been an example in recent times of an aggregation of businesses together saying we've had a critical utility denied to us and have brought a class action claim before. There are examples overseas, but that's just because countries like Australia that have had a class action statutory regime for nearly 30 years, for over 30 years, and of course America, which has a proud history of class action litigation.
Are you in discussions with business, Chris?
I'm not, but certainly I've spoken with a couple of business leaders who are very keen to explore what options are available.
Good to talk to you. Thank you for your time. That's Chris Patterson, Auckland barrister there. And as he said, he's had a chat to a few business leaders about the possibility of seeking compensation as a result of that massive power outage. And our visual journalist, Marika Habazi, asked people who they think should be tossing out compo for the Northland blackout.
Well, Transpower operates independently, but